All right, good morning. My name is Tim Lester. I am the Market Center Tech Trainer. And if you need any questions between now and then, feel free to stop, raise your hand. We will answer those questions and we'll work through them. I'm going to have my screen up here as we kind of work step by step through this. Today we are going to be going from contact to close on a listing. So this is going to be a situation where you meet somebody and they say, hey, I think I'm interested in listing my house. How are we going to move through that as far as the command side of that process? Okay, awesome. So first up, we're going to go to agent.kw.com. And I'm going to have to move my camera because it's it's too far. You can't see me. Perfect. All right, so agent.kw.com. The first step in contact to close is, it's in the name. Contact. Okay, so here's our hypothetical. We go to Grub Burger, we're having lunch, and we say, hey, the guy next to me, I keep overhearing him saying, man, we got to sell this house because we're moving. So what do?
Hey,
Yes, we go and introduce ourselves, hand him a business card, and say, I would love to help you sell that property. Can you tell me more? Great. And he says, hey, man, I'm heading out from lunch. Let's set up a meeting and do that. Great. Can I get your name, phone number, and email so I can reach out to you and we can set up a meeting? Have I lost anybody yet?
No, not yet.
Beautiful. Okay. So how do we create a contact inside of Command? Now, as of today, you can use Command Mobile to just add that in. We're not going to do that today because the Android people don't have it quite yet. But inside of the desktop command, we're going to simply go to our contacts. Now, if you don't know what these little ambiguous icons on the left side mean, which many of you newer agents won't, you can click on the red KW. It'll kick out and it'll show you your different definitions. We're going to go to contacts. And today we're going to create one. So this is going to be a new contact. It is this top right lovely little piece called Add Contact. All right. So first up, we need a full name. So let's substitute our hypothetical. Let's say I met Miss Lillestall at Grub Burger. So Sarah Lillestall, which I will probably misspell her name, maybe. And then, yeah, it's that, isn't it?
It is.
Oh gosh, yeah. Let's fix that. Call it off.
L-I-L-L-E-S-T-O-L.
Little less stall. Got it. All right. We need an email. Why do we need an email? Anybody? Why do we need an email? If you're thinking through the process of selling a house, why would you need someone's email?
For Docusign stuff?
For Docusign, so they can sign the documents remotely unless they are a client that needs to sign in person, which is okay. But I can tell you, and I can tell you that 85, probably about 80%, because we do quite a few elderly clients, but 80% of my clients sign through Docusign. So get the email, save yourself time, save yourself the extra meeting of having to print and cost of printing, hand signing, and scanning. Now, if you do have a client that is elderly or technology ambiguous, then you can print them off and do so. It works fine. It's just a little bit slower. Okay? So that's why we need an email for the listing side. Now let's talk about a phone number. Why do we need a phone number? To call them. Yes, it was really that simple. So, Miss Lillestall, what's your number?
432-488-7496.
Now, you can add this if you were using your Command Mobile, or if you even pulled up Command on your phone just in Safari, you could be sitting there at Grub Burger adding this person in. Now, you cannot have an opportunity without a contact. Just like you can't have a transaction without a person. Even a deceased person, there's a person. Okay? All right, so I have told you many times to fill out the rest of this. I'm going to give Miss Lillestall a quick tag, and it's going to be seller, just so I can sort her later.
There's no H in my email if you're going to send me things.
Oh, you're correct.
I am correct.
Yes. You spell it incorrectly.
That's not acceptable.
And I can only say that because my wife is Sarah with an H. And she is correct. I've been told that that's always true. All right. Okay, so we have a contact. We've got this person. They want to sell a house. Great. Awesome. Let's move to the next step. We want to set up an appointment. Correct? All right. So we're going to create what's called an opportunity. Now, again, if you don't know what these little icons mean on the left, click on your red KW. You can jump over here to the opportunities. It's the handshake, little handshake icon. And you're going to see your sales pipeline or your opportunity pipeline. Now, this is where you can see the transactions. The one thing I want you to keep in your mind is that an opportunity is not a person. It's a transaction. A contact is a person. Now, why does this matter? Because you may have multiple opportunities with the same client. In fact, it happens pretty often. You might have a client that's selling one house and buying another. Those are two separate opportunities. They're going to have different disclosures. They're going to have different contracts. They're got to be treated separately. Okay? Because one could always fall through and the other one not. All right? So we're going to treat this as a transaction with Ms. Lillisdahl. So first up we're going to do is go to create opportunity in this top right lovely green button, teal. And you're going to see your options. So the first thing I'm going to do for my own sake is I'm going to remove it from the team. It's only going to be in mine. Y'all shouldn't have that problem because y'all are on a team. The client is going to be Sarah Lillisdahl. Now, had I not added her ahead of time, she would not have been there. You cannot create an opportunity without first creating a contact. They have to be loaded ahead of time. Now, if you're using command at the high level that I hope you will be, those contacts are going to be loaded in the second you meet somebody. I literally pull out command mobile right now, add them, great, and then I download their contact to my phone. They go into command before they even get into my phone. Okay? Because that person is my opportunity for a paycheck. Now, people are still people, but we have to look at the numbers. So we know that if it was 100-to-1 conversion ratio, which is Facebook ad level, like the worst conversion rate you can get is basic Facebook advertising 100-to-1. If our average sales price in Midland gets us a $9,000 commission check, which it does right now, every single person you're adding to that database is like writing yourself a $90 check. Okay? Every person you're adding there, you're paying yourself. Because we know at its worst conversion rate, you have 100 people in there that you're working, you're having conversations with, you're going to get one transaction, which is going to pay you about $9,000. Okay? So that's the importance of getting those contacts in there and then touching them often. Touching. Okay, sorry. Squirrel. Let's jump back into the opportunity. So Sarah's not going to have a co-seller. And, we can throw Joe in here, Joe Blow. He's my second favorite seller. I don't know why y'all bought a property together.
I don't either.
Maybe it was an investment.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, we'll go with that. Because this is a listing, we already have the address. Change the opportunity name to the address. Write that down. Change the opportunity name to the address. Okay, so we're going to sell 123 Magic Kingdom. Custom tags. I typically use custom tags in a situation of identifying lenders. So if there was a lender that wanted to co-brand on this listing or something, or they wanted to hold partner with an open house, I might tag them on this. I tend personally to not use custom tags on listing opportunities, more my buyer opportunities. Now, that being said, you might have a creative way to use that. You might have something that you want to tag these listings. You might want to tag them as a development, like, hey, this is Daybreak. In fact, that's actually a really good idea for agents that don't know the areas and the subdivisions. Tag it as a subdivision so when you can pull it up and you say, these are all the listings I have in Daybreak. Or these are all the listings I have in Permian Estates. So that's a great option. Glad I thought of it. Estimated closing dates. Guys, don't rack your brain on this. It's an estimate. What's our average days on market right now? Anybody know?
90 days.
It's between 60 and 90 days. So I'm going to just go ahead and say that we're going to sell this house by February 20th. Also, it's an estimate. You can change it. Not going to hurt your feelings. Not going to hurt my feelings. This is for you to kind of understand what's your timeline. Okay? So I usually put average days on market at that point. Okay? Estimated listing price. Now, you haven't had an appointment yet with this client, correct? So, again, this is an estimate. You might run a CMA, you might run comps and decide, hey, I think the estimated listing price on this is going to be about $350,000. Okay? And we're going to estimate that we're going to get a 3% commission on it. Now, our phases, bottom left, we've got our opportunity phases. These are those pieces. If you look past the circles here, those are the phases. The stages are the sections inside. So we're going to put this one at appointment because we've already cultivated this relationship. Granted, you did it in 90 seconds, but those are the best sales in my opinion. So you've already had a conversation with them and said, hey, they're interested in sitting down with you to talk about listing the property. So let's take them to the appointment phase. And then the stage inside, we haven't scheduled an appointment yet, so I'm going to leave it at the scheduling. And we're going to hit create. Now, what you're going to see is the actual opportunity card. This is the opportunity inside that pipeline. I want us to take a step back and see how do you get here after this point, because there's sometimes confusion around that. So we're going to go back to opportunities. I'm going to click on my handshake icons here, and you're going to see now in the green pipeline for listings, we have one here for $350,000. Everyone see that? Okay. So that's where that one is. And so we can click into it, and we're going to see the different stages. So that was the phase. Now we can see the different stages, and you can see that I have Miss Olistella and Mr. Blow, and we're selling 123 Magic Kingdom, and we're scheduling an appointment. Okay?
Does it matter if I messed up earlier and put her as a leadership context, and now it won't let me put in an opportunity phase?
It should let you put it into an opportunity.
It says this field is required, but it don't have no options for me to click on.
Let's take a look. We'll take a quick pause.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're good.
I just try to skim it, push create, and saying I have to put something in there.
Let's take. Oh, listen.
Gotcha.
Try.
Okay,
Okay.
sorry.
Any other questions before we keep going? No, that's okay. Ask your questions. Oh, I made the camera mad. Come back to me.
Oh, very much.
Are you coming back? Hi, thanks. Yeah. All right. All right, let's keep going. So inside of our opportunity pipeline, you can drag and drop this. So let's say we needed to move it around. If we're going to take it back to cultivate, you could drag and drop it onto the cultivate up here. You see how it turns blue? Kind of back there behind it. I could drop it in there and now it's in cultivate. Or I could take it and move it forward or back. I'm going to put this one back in appointment. There's a massive glare right there where I need to drop it. Okay. All right, so scheduling. We need to schedule an appointment with Ms. Lostalla and Mr. Blow. And we need to start thinking about this property. So by now you will have probably done a CMA or started kind of a basic market analysis. We're not going to do that today. That's a separate class. But you kind of need to know, hey, what are we going to sell this property for? What's the area doing? What's the comparable selling is? So the next thing we're going to do is get some documents ready, because what I want you to do is when they come in, you sit down and have a conversation with them. And if you're going to do digital, that's fine. I actually have a set of blank documents for every single listing appointment that I take to that appointment. We talk about it, and then I say, hey, a digital version is going to come into your email so you can sign it. Unless I know ahead of time they're not going to be a digital signature, and then we print them off. So where do we get our documents? How do we get to that point? If we, inside of that card, and again, the way to get in that card, just because I did that a little bit quickly, is you just click on the blue text of the of the opportunity card, and it will pull up the opportunity. Okay? Now, we're going to skip seller profile. That has to do with the app. If they are registered with your consumer app, updates will show there. And we're going to go to documents. So, for all of y'all, all y'all's Docusigns have been set up. Do we set your Docusign up? Cool. Sorry, everybody else we did beforehand, so just double checking. So you're going to take the checklist. You see this little pick checklist? We're going to select residential because this is a residential transaction. What that does is it loads up our compliance checklist. These are the documents we need. These are the documents that are required, and these are the documents you should be getting signed. Now, the cool part is everything that has this nice little blue DS next to it will automatically get dropped into the room when you create the room. So it takes a little bit of steps off where you have to go find those documents. So from here, we're going to click the big kind of bluish gray button, start a transaction. And then we're going to click on Docusign. You probably only have one option. So Docusign is the one to go. This is going to load up Docusign in a new window. If it does not, you probably have your pop-up blocker on, and check right here up in the URL and see if it blocked that pop-up. So I've seen that a few times. So if it's not popping up, that's probably where it's at. All right, so we're going to sign in. And we have just created a room. This one room is attached to the one opportunity. Anything you put in this room is available to that opportunity and available to that compliance checklist. Every single opportunity is going to have a separate room. Okay? And we talked about this. You might have multiple opportunities with one client, but they're going to have separate rooms because they're going to have separate disclosures. And some of those may be duplicates. That's okay. If somebody signs an IABS 6 times because you're selling 6 properties, hallelujah, praise Jesus, congratulations. You know, not a big deal. So every opportunity has a separate room. You must create the room from command. If you go straight to Docusign and then just hit the create a room button, they won't be connected. And there's no way to retroactively connect them.
For compliance, does compliance go through here to check our work, or do they go through?
It'll be through command. And you're gonna see some of that play out here in just a minute. All of our compliance runs straight through command. I know, I think you were with we were doing .loop probably last time you were here, so a little bit different, but honestly a lot easier.
So I guess what I'm asking is, will compliance have access to this Docusign room?
Yes, so they do, but they don't go into it. They only check what's in command. And the reason for that is, and this is a really good question. Thank you for asking that. So if you're on a listing side, and let's say you get like 9 offers, that room's going to get real dirty real fast. Even when I do keep it organized in folders and stuff, we don't want compliance to have to go hunt through all those to find the right one. So they only look at what's in command. But that's a very good point. And at a listing side, that's a real situation that's probably going to happen to you at some point, where you have multiple offers and you need to compare them and have them separated out. And you can create folders inside of here. We're getting a little bit ahead, but that's okay. So inside of the actions port, you can create a folder. I would create a folder for each offer and keep them as organized as possible. It is a little bit difficult sometimes, especially if you have a situation where you've got like 9, 10, 12 offers. But do your best to keep it clean. It'll save you some headaches along the way. So inside of Docusign, we have these blue forms. These are editable. And so when you click on them, they will load up and you can fill them out. This is not where you get signatures. This is just where you fill out the forms. So if we scroll down on this information about brokerage services, it did autofill some things because the opportunity sent over some data to Docusign. and it's ready to go. Now you'll see Sarah Lilistell and Joe Blow are ready to go down there. It pulled over the clients. And when it pulled over their clients, it pulled over their emails. So we could send this off for signatures immediately if it was ready to go. Now, another class that we talk about using templates. So you can always fill it out by hand there, or you can, I can't see. Oh, I don't have a template made for that one. Sorry. You can right click and hit apply template to add a template. That's if you have one pre-filled out with all your information, which I highly, highly recommend. And you can make those templates in the documents section. Hi. Man, my eyes are killing me today. We're not being successful. In the My Doc section, you can create templates that are pre-filled with all your information. You should do that, especially for your IABS, because let's be honest, it doesn't change ever. It's the same document every single time. So we're going to get these filled out. So let's say we fill these out, and you have to fill out something on them to make that sample go away. That's a weird thing that Texas and actually every state has enforced, that if you don't put some kind of text in it and you just try to like export it or get it signed, it leaves that sample on there because they think you're trying to just like bulk print the forms. It was a weird explanation that honestly didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But I'll play their game. So we'll put some text in. You're going to go through, fill out your listing representation, your wire fraud, your information about brokerage services, your information about minerals. And you'll notice all these forms are already here because we did select the checklist before we created the room. Now, there are some people that use zip forms inside of Docusign. If they create the room before selecting that checklist, it will not drop these in there because they want to add their own zip form files, which is fine. And then we have a whole, again, different class on how to use that. But I suggest sticking with the Docusign. It seems to be the easiest for most people at first. Okay, so we're going to fill these out. Let me get some text on each one of these so we lose our sample.
So we should be able to right click and be able to have a template there.
You should, if you've made the template. Have you made a template?
The IABS, but it's not right click and show.
So remember, there's two IABSs. There's an IABS for buyers and there's an IABS for sellers. And so you have to create a template for both. I bet the template we made was which is the same thing I've got here, is that I created one for buyers. So we will make an adjustment there. All right. So we have now got our documents. We've filled them out. Let's have our meeting. So I'm going to jump back here into command, and I'm actually going to go back to the detail section. This is for your own organization, but I highly, highly recommend it because it's going to help you understand your relationships to your clients. In that, am I making an appointment and they're not keeping it? Or am I not making the appointment and thus I'm not getting them? And so in your detail section, you can come in here and hit this little pencil icon. And let's say I set up an appointment with Ms. Lilistell today, which is the 1st, and we're going to have this appointment tomorrow. We hit save. And for those of you on Teams, this is super valuable because it helps other people, admin, rainmakers, other people know, like, okay, hey, they're having an appointment tomorrow. I don't need to go and ask them and say, hey, when's that appointment? Because it's right there. So that'll help everyone be more efficient. We've got our documents. You can print them out. We're going to now have our appointment. So let's fast forward 24 hours. I come in, we sit down with Mr. Lilistell and Mr. Blow. We have a conversation. We talk through our market analysis. We talk through our listing, and they agree. They say, hey, the market says we should sell this house for $330. You're saying we should sell this house for 330. Let's list it at 330. We'll agree to everything else. Awesome. We're going to come back. We're going to make sure to adjust and make any changes. So if you originally had in your listing agreement that you were going to sell the house for 350, come back and change it. It's 330. If originally, it was a 3% commission and they renegotiated it to a 2.5% commission, just come back and change it. No big deal. All you do is come into your little pencil. You're going to scroll down to our estimated list price. We're going to change this to $330,000. And let's say that we renegotiated the commission to 2.5%. Great. Save. That's good. We'll need to change it on the documents. So to get back to Docusign, so I'm going to close this so you can kind of see that workflow. You'll come over to Documents. We're going to hit Go to Transaction because we already started a transaction. We don't need to create a new one. It's going to say Go to Transaction, which is going to kick open that Docusign window again. And we have access to all of our documents. We've had our appointment. Now let's send them off for some signatures. How do we do that? All right. We're going to start checking files. So the little box here, which is so much better than the old circle, you're going to check all of your documents. And it may stop me because some of those we didn't add any text to. We'll see.
Wait, what did you click after you?
Oh, I'm sorry. Click on the pin icon. I just kind of kept going there. There's a pin icon at the top that says create envelope or envelope or whatever way you want to pronounce that. And this is the process of getting the signatures. Now, the most important thing after you click create envelope is when you come down here to add recipients that you use pre-tagged roles. If you do not use the pre-tagged roles, if you just use email or room participant or whatever, you are going to have to drag and drop every single signature or date icon or all the little pieces, and it's going to drive you absolutely nuts. So save yourself a headache, save yourself the time, use the pre-tagged roles. So we click pre-tagged roles, and then it's going to give us this option. So seller 1 is going to be Miss Lillistahl. Seller 2 is going to be Mr. Blow. And actually, I'm going to leave him off because I have him as an email that won't go through. So we'll pretend it's just Miss Lillistahl. Listing agent is you. You are the listing agent. Okay. Do we need to take a caffeine break? Are we good? Everyone awake? All right.
Real hyped up.
Yeah, this is important stuff,
Okay, I have questions.
Okay.
For some reason, I didn't do the Joe Blow. He wasn't coming up. I guess it's just to you. But
Yeah.
can I put Ron myself, and would it affect when I put it myself as a listing agent? So,
No.
so can I go ahead and?
You can hold multiple roles.
Okay.
Yes. You wouldn't in a normal transaction, but yes,
Right.
you can do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Okay, cool. We're going to hit add selected, and you're going to see them pop up. Now, one thing I want you to look at that I have a lot of people that, for some reason, this is mind-blowing. You see the numbers on the left? This is the signing order. This is what order they're going to get it to sign in. And I personally always set myself as last. So what that means is I'm not going to get the documents to sign until they're done signing. So when it comes to me, I know Sarah's done signing. The other really cool trick you can do with this is if you have a transaction coordinator, or if you want to send a copy, if you're in PC and you want to send a copy to Sarah, which is awkward in this situation, you can come in to add an email address and add in a person. So Sarah Lil. No. There's an H in there. So LILLESTOL.
Yes.
All right. At kw.com.
Yes.
And what you can change this to is instead of needs to sign, they can receive a copy. So they're going to get an email with PDFs. Now, here's the problem. If I don't change that to, she's going to get it at the same time as I get it to sign, so my signatures won't be on the document. Does that make sense? Have I lost anybody there? Man, y'all are easy. Okay, so I'm going to make her number 3. What that means is step 1, the client's going to sign. Step 2, I'm going to sign. Step 3, she's going to get a copy. Now, I do have some agents that for some reason want to add themselves back in to get copies. You're going to get copies anyways. Don't do that. You're going to have really redundant copies. It's going to come back to the room and it'll be signed. So let's see how this plays out. When I hit next and we look at all those lovely documents, we probably should have just done one, but we'll go for broke here. We would have our affiliated business arrangement. That's our Tall City title. And you'll see that Sarah already has signature lines. We didn't have to add those in. Now this text here was already added in the room. This wasn't added in the envelope. That was added in the room. I do have a lot of people, and this is actually a prime example. This is one where people go, oh crud, I forgot to put the property address. You can do that right here. All you needed to do is add a text box. You can click on it. And we can stretch it out a little bit, make it look pretty. And what you do is instead of making a required field, just make it a read-only field, and it's there. So if you miss a piece of text and you don't want to go all the way back to the room to make that change, you can do that right here. Did I lose anybody there? Okay, cool. So we're going to pretend that the rest of that's filled out. We have our signature line. Beautiful. Here's our exclusive right to sell. Now you will see that some of this information did autofill. You know, brokerage information that was already coming over from command did autofill in. And you'll see there's our initials. We didn't have to drag and drop all those initials. So again, using those pre-tagged roles, we are eliminating the opportunity for our failures, because there's a lot of little initial lines that it'd be real easy to accidentally forget. And then when you send it off to compliance and they kick it back and then you do it again, it's frustrating. Use the pre-tagged roles. It'll make your life 1,000 times easier. Okay? So initials, 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 initials. Wouldn't it suck to have to drag and drop all this stuff? Okay. Name, we got our signatures. I will tell you, I tend to also move these over a little bit. They tend to be a little bit too far over. If for some reason you've got somebody with like a really long name, I will pull like the date up. So if I've got somebody, especially with hyphenated names, we have some ladies that have hyphenated names. I'm like, it's going to take the whole line. I move the date up so it's not over their name. Okay. So we've got initials, we've got signatures, and then you'll see that we've got initials here. This is where the seller's signing. Awesome. Okay. So we've got all these great documents that we have prepped. We prepped them in the room. We've had our appointment with the client. They're good to go. We've done all this. We're going to hit send. And now that's going to fire off and go to our people. So in about 30 seconds, Sarah's going to get an email asking her to sign. She is going to sign all those documents.
Give me a minute.
Yeah, it's going to take a second. In fact, I'm going to use this time. Oh, no, I'm not. No, it's not empty yet.
I have a question.
Yes.
I was going back to the documents. Did y'all, I think someone told me one time, but I forgot. Is there forms in Spanish?
There are forms available in Spanish. They cannot legally sign them.
Okay.
They can use them to reference. I do not believe Docusign has them in Spanish. You would probably have to go to the Texas Association of Realtors or TREC. So for our Spanish-speaking clients, which we have some as well, we have those forms on hand for them to reference.
Yeah.
TREC states that it is not a legal form if it's in Spanish. It has to be in English.
So they can reference it, read it, and
Correct.
sign the English form.
Yes. And sometimes that's a weird conversation to have with some of those clients, but yeah, they cannot sign the Spanish forms. If you do submit a Spanish form, it will immediately be rejected. Okay, so Sarah just finished signing. So when you guys all came on, we had you download a bunch of apps, and you will see the neon yellow Docusign app. So that just popped up on my phone telling me, hey, it's Tim's turn to sign. Okay? I didn't get that notification or the email until she was done signing. So I know my client's done signing. Great. So we're going to jump in here. I'm going to hit the sign, and I'm going to sign my portions of the listing agreement, which will take 30 seconds. And the reason we're going through this is I want you to see the signed versions and how that works with compliance. Okay.
Ooh. Teaching moment.
Teaching moment. Okay.
So Tyra just sent me hers, and there's a required field for your license number. So that was sent as a required field for me to fill out.
Oh, yeah, I kind of lost track, so I just sent it anyway. It's not- I got my notebook
It's good, it's
going
teaching
over here.
moment.
So, good teaching moment. She's not going to know your license number, and if she does, that's probably not a good
I
thing.
was just practicing the text box and everything.
It's all
so-
good.
Yeah.
No, I got it. Everything looked great. And then at the end, it was like, please fill in your license number. And I was like, no.
Surprise.
Okay. Now, we just finished signing. Because Sarah, we added her as step 3, she is now going to get an email with those PDFs.
Completed.
So she got the email of it. So this also works, and this isn't specific to listings, but if you're on the buyer side, feel free to add the listing agent as step 3. So as soon as your clients, and I tell them, I say, hey, as soon as you're done signing that bad boy is going off to the listing agent. So as soon as they're done signing, we have it as step 3, it fires off to them. I don't have to forward that email. I don't have to download those documents. It just goes to them. And then I just shoot them a text and say, hey, offer in your inbox. And I've never had a listing agent to date upset about it. It's a really easy way to save some time. So we now have those, and we're going to refresh this page so you can see that envelope where it said waiting for others is now going to say completed. When we go back to the room under documents, you're now going to see green check marked versions. These are flat PDFs. These are not editable anymore, okay? If you needed to edit, you would go back to the blue forms, which are down here, and then just make your changes and resend for signatures. The green ones are not editable. Why are they not editable? Because they are an executed contract and that's illegal. Yes, that's why. Don't modify signed contracts. Okay? Everyone good?
Yes.
I love it. Don't get sued. That's basically what I just said. Okay, so we now have signed forms. Let's take a step back, think about our workflow with our people. We've got a signed listing agreement. We're going to go live probably in about 3 or 4 days, maybe a week. Depends on photographers, schedules, and things like that. So if we're going to do that, let's work ahead with compliance. This is one struggle I have with some of our older agents who just kind of want to do everything at once at the end, and then they just shoot themselves in the foot and they don't get their DA. So some of y'all are new agents and you're like, what the hell's a DA? Anybody want to explain a DA? No? Okay. So a DA, or a distributional agreement, or sometimes called a commission distribution agreement, or a CDA, is the form you get from us to give to title so they write you a check instead of all the money coming to Keller Williams. Then we have to deposit it. We have to clear the funds. Then we have to cut you a check like a week later. And the whole time you're like, I want my money now. So work ahead so you get a DA. You'll get paid at the table. Essentially, it's the next day. Most of our title companies, they'll try to bring them the same day, but usually it's the next day. You'll get a check. It's written straight to you for the amount you're supposed to get. It already has the commission splits on it. So you just get paid, and then you get to go celebrate and then go find a new client because you've been unemployed again. Okay? Awesome. So work ahead. Let's go back into command. Oh, hang on. Sorry. Screen share's throwing me off again. So inside of command, you will see we have 3 sections of a transaction. We have the listed section, the under contract section, and the closed section. Each one of those has a separate checklist that has to be filled out. We just finished the rep docs. So this is the representation section. This is listed. So inside of here, you can see that we are connected to that Docusign room. The second one, we're going to select the folder. And because there's only one folder right now, it's just room docs. Now, if you create multiple folders, it makes it a lot easier to filter your forms. So we'll hit room docs. And so let's talk about the IABS. We need the IABS. Well, now that when we have that drop down, it's already there. All we have to do is I start typing it in, information about brokerage services, and you see how it's called signed at the end? Everyone see that? It might be a little small for you. Right here. List information about brokerage services, listing, signed. When those forms come back to the room, they all get renamed with signed. So if for some reason you uploaded a different PDF, you would know like, hey, this is the one that's signed. It's supposed to make things easier. So all you have to do is click it. It attaches it. We need a listing agreement, residential real estate listing agreement, wire fraud. You'll see how fast this is. Like it should not take you more than about 3 minutes to attach all these documents. Appraisal district printout, you'll need to go to Midland County Appraisal District, Ector County, whatever county appraisal you're using, and just find the property and then hit print to PDF and then just download and upload it. Now, the one thing, you can put it into the Docusign room so it connects, or if you want to upload it manually, like you have it saved to your computer, all you have to do is change this from Docusign to my computer, and then we can put whatever PDF we want in here. So let's hit this browse button. Oh gosh. And we're going to pretend that this Christmas card is an appraisal district printout. And cool, attached. Now, the red ones that say required are in fact required. You must have them in every contract to get through compliance. The truth is, you're probably going to have some of the other ones too. You're not going to just have the required typically. So you might have a listing amendment. You might have a disclosure of lead-based paint. Agents, what year does a house have to be built? 1978 or older. And you have to have a disclosure of lead-based paint. Do this as the listing agent. Do this now. Upload that thing to Navica. So when a buyer wants to bring an offer, they can just download it, have their people sign it, and send it to you. I can't tell you how many agents I have to call and say, hey, do you have the disclosure of lead-based paint? Like, oh yeah, it's somewhere. I'm like, man, upload that bad boy to Navica. Make my life easier. Okay? Because when you make my life easier, I bring you offers faster. Fair enough? All right, seller's disclosure notice. Now, you'll notice that I don't do the seller's disclosure notice in Docusign, and neither should you. It is very difficult for the client to fill out because it's a lot of little tiny things to click on. A lot of people will print it out and hand it to them. You should not do that either. Instead, our office has an agreement with Seller Shield. We pay for this. So if you go to sellershield.com, that's new. Did they change the URL? Oh, it's Seller's Shield. Excuse me. I missed an S. Okay, so you can then come in and there is an agent login button. Where'd they move the agent login button? I used this 2 days ago.
It's protect.sellershield.com.
Ah, that's right. Protect. See, thank you, Maria. You're the best. Okay, so we're going to sign in. Your account's already been made. You don't have to do anything. You guys can follow along and literally do this right now. You're going to go to Texas, put your license number in. It's going to ask you to create an account. I already have one. We'll sign in. And what this is this is a digital seller's disclosure. Why does this matter? When you sign your clients up for this and have it sent to them, they literally cannot skip a question. The number one reason we have issues with seller's disclosure is they're like, oh, I don't know about that, and they skip it. And then now you have a disclosure issue. What's the number one reason for lawsuits in real estate? Disclosure. Number one reason. That's why there's an entire website right here dedicated to it. So how do you sign a client up? You just go to invite a new seller. You're going to put the address of the property and then the primary person who's filling it out. If there is an additional signer, because they signed through this program too, all you got to do is add in additional signer, first name, last name. They will not be able to make edits to it. They'll just be able to sign it. So often in my scenarios, when I have a couple coming in from out of town and it's an oil guy who's going to be working 14 hours a day and does not want to have anything to do with this, they just want to have a house to move into, I'm going to put the lady as the primary so she can fill it out. Because if I am trusting him to fill it out while he's out on the rig, possible disclosure issues. Okay? Rule number 2, we don't fill this out for the client. We don't even really talk to them about it if you can avoid it. You say, this is a great document for you to talk about the property. Disclose everything. How many of y'all have met, well, some of y'all may not have met Miss Kay yet. She's our broker. When she sold her property, she had 7 additional pages of notes stapled to that seller's disclosure. She disclosed creaky tiles. That lady was not getting sued for nothing. So tell your people just like, hey, disclose everything. Again, it's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing. We're just disclosing. Okay? They'll fill it out one step at a time. The other thing with this website is they have little hover eyes. If you hover over the eye, it kind of explains what it is. Like, what's a sump grinder? I don't know. I didn't know forever until I realized it had to do with septic systems. But it's got a nice little hover that they can get some information on. So you'll send this off to the clients. As soon as they're done filling it out, it sends it back. Now here's the other cool thing. If this house is built before 1978, it will also have them fill out a lead-based paint disclosure. So you don't have to do that one in Docusign. They're going to already do it for you. Okay? Now, don't send a seller's disclosure notice until you have a signed listing agreement. Okay?
Okay.
You might be like overstepping some bounds there. So we're going to send that. It's going to come back. That's going to be a PDF that you just upload straight to Command, or you can put it in the Docusign. I actually usually put it in the Docusign room. That way, if I have an agent that's like, hey, I don't have Navica access or whatever, can you send that over? I can grab those 3 or 4 documents and send them all at once. Because they're going to need lead-based paint. They're going to need seller's disclosure. They might need an on-site sewer, whatever the different documents are. So I usually upload it to the Docusign account. Either way, when you have it, you're going to upload it to Command right here. Yeah, what's up?
Sorry, it's kind of a little bit further back. How do I save this to my screen? When I log in that, so that I'll forget what this website is.
Oh, just hit start.
Okay.
And click add. No. Please bookmark, guys. Please use Seller Shield. I promise you will never regret it.
So Seller Shield is specifically just for the SDNs, that's the
And
only
lead-based
form,
paint.
and lead-based, that's the only 2 forms that,
So they will also do PID, but you have to tell them to do a PID form. And so public improvement district, which has been a fun new one for the past 2 months. If your property falls in a public improvement district, you can have it send them one, but you have to tell it that yes, they're in a public improvement district, which means you've got to do the work to find out if they are, which is not, so far not been fun. So upload. Once you have everything in here, you're going to submit to MC, that big green button. And it's going to pop up and say, are you sure you want to submit for review? And you're going to say, yes, I did all my work correctly. We're going to submit that. It's going to go to compliance. Okay? Compliance is going to take a look at it, and they're going to check it for legality. They do not check for content. So for those of you that are in the room and those of you listening online, compliance's job is not to check to see if you just bought a $200,000 house for $2 million. You can still make a comma error and buy a house for too much. They're checking to say, are all the signatures there? all the initials there, do you have all the documents, and do you have all the documents that are referenced in the contract? Okay, that is their job. They will kick it back if it does not meet compliance standards. If there's something missing, personal favorite is if you don't have Seller's Shield do the seller's disclosure, always check page 5 of the seller's disclosure because they have to sign and initial, and everybody when they're signing initials forgets the initial. Happens all the time with my hand signers. So it happens. You just get it fixed and you resubmit it. Okay? We're here to help keep you protected. All right. So we're into this. We've now uploaded the listing to Navica. We've got it live on the market. Photographs are done. Everything's good to go. It's doing its thing, and then we start getting offers. Okay? So buyer's agent sends you the offer. You look at all of them. You decide which one you want to keep. You can now drag and drop that offer or click upload. So let's walk kind of through that. So let's say we had an offer on this one. We could hit add.
So if you send to you as a PDF, you add it.
Yeah, I mean, usually an agent's going to send it to you as a PDF. Let me see if I have any in here right now. Oh, here we go. Perfect. We will pretend this is the correct one. So let's pretend this is, I mean, it's got the wrong address, but let's pretend that this is an offer that came in on the property and we want to accept this one. As is, as written, we're good. Or we've asked the buyer's agent to make changes. So sometimes as a listing agent, you'll send me an offer and I'll say, hey, we're good with everything except this, make that change, get a new signature and send it over. You can also redline it in Docusign. I personally don't like that because it creates a very dirty document that is just a little bit more difficult to note. Especially if it gets scanned in black and white, that line becomes very difficult to differentiate and you're creating doubt, in my opinion. That's my opinion. So we've uploaded all those documents. I'm gonna refresh the page. It's gonna load all those PDFs. Cool, awesome. So if I want to get signatures, and I'm just gonna do this one so as not to create any problems. Actually, let me do this one. So we have our contract. You would have everything signed. You will check the box, hit your envelope button, your little pen icon, and we're going to get this signed. Now, here's the bad news. That's a flat PDF. You can't use pre-tagged roles because it's not a form. So as a listing agent, you're going to have to drag and drop a couple of signatures on this one. So let's say we were going to get this one signed. We need to add people. So click add recipient. I'm going to hit room participant. You'll see pre-tagged roles aren't even there because there were no forms. And I'm going to grab Miss Lil Stahl. Click add selected. And then we will hit next. So you, the listing agent, have received this offer. You want to get it signed by your people to accept it. So we will come in here and we will start putting our initial lines. Bam. Now, cool thing with Docusign, when you size something, it will remember that and it will keep using that size. So we'll come in here, initial. Y'all get the idea. And then we're going to come down to our signature page. Put our signature on there. And because we are the last people signing, what else do we do?
Execute.
Got to execute the contract. The last people signing execute the contract. And as a listing agent, that's typically going to be your people. Now, if you make a change to the document, if you do redline something, you do not execute the contract. Did I lose anybody there? Okay. If you are the last signers, you execute the contract. So what I normally do to execute it is I will actually just put a date signed field. So whenever my people sign, it executes. It's already done. Okay. The other thing I would do normally is I would put the buyer's agent email to receive a copy. You know how we did that earlier with Sarah? I would do the same thing with the buyer's agent. So when my people are done signing, it just sends them a copy. We're good. We move forward. Questions?
It's only accepted when it's signed, right?
Yeah.
They don't have to sign it.
Yeah, and so like one thing, and that's a good question. I have gotten this before. I sent it to a seller and they've like changed their mind. They're like, no, we don't want to sign this. They can hit decline and not sign it, and it will send that envelope back to you and say, hey, they declined to sign. So if that does happen, you will get an immediate notification. And then you can call them and have a conversation, figure out what's up. Thank you. Great question. All right. So we're going to have all that filled out, and then we would hit send. We'll make Sarah sign something again. So again, we got our offers. We figured out which ones we wanted. We sent it off to Sarah to sign. She's going to get that. She's going to sign it. Okay, I just got the Docusign notification that Sarah Lillistel has finished signing, and it is back in the room. Beautiful. So we will hit Control R to refresh that page, and you will see there it is. Took a second. So we now have our signed version and our certificate. Just as a side note, those certificates inside of Docusign, you can archive them, do not delete them, because that is the proof of signature. If for some reason a lawyer ever came up to you and was like, hey, we're having a problem with this, we need the certificate showing it. The cool thing with that certificate is it shows the device, the location, the time, the operating system. It pulls a whole lot of data so they can prove who signed what, or at least what device signed what, and they can use that as part of their case for backing whether someone legally signed something or not. Prime example, I had a client who was in jail, and we sent a termination document to him, expecting him to have computer access. He did not, but it got signed. How did it get signed?
Oh, girlfriend is outside, yeah.
Buddy signed it for him. Not okay. Not kosher, not legal. We immediately voided that and went through the process of going to get something hand signed. Okay, so if you ever have questions, don't be afraid to back yourself up, because nobody wants to end up in court. All right, but I had that certificate, so if someone had come to me and it said that device was sitting in Odessa and he's in jail in Midland, they're gonna know he didn't sign it, right? So that was a side note. Sorry, forgive my squirrel. So we have gotten everything signed. So in this instance, we've gotten the contract signed. We've got it executed. We are now under contract. Beautiful, lovely day. So we're going to go to our under contract portion, and we're going to upload those pieces. Now, we can do it through the Docusign, and then the room docs, and we can find our contracts. So here's the 1-4 signed. So we'll put that in. Now, I always get questions. I'm like, oh, so we only have to put the contract. No, you have to put everything you've got. There is one instance, and one instance only, where there is only a contract. Does anybody know what that one instance is where there's only a contract?
What do you mean?
There's typically there's one instance where you only have to upload an executed and received contract. Yeah, new construction usually has a third party. That's why. That's what I was thinking. Cash deal, no disclosures. So usually undeveloped land. So cash deal on undeveloped land is typically the only time you're ever going to upload only a contract. Most contracts are going to have 4 to 5 amendments, or at least additional pieces. You're going to have a third-party financing if they're getting a loan. If it's not cash, you have a third-party financing. If it's a conventional loan, you're going to have right to terminate for appraisal. If it's a home built before 1978, you're going to have a lead-based disclosure. If it's a home that's ever been lived in, it's probably going to have a seller's disclosure. There's a few instances of not having that, but just because that's the only thing required, if you have those other pieces, it's got to be in there. Prime example, we had somebody, they're like, oh, I uploaded my contract. Well, they look at the contract, compliance looks at that contract, and every single box that's checked as additional addenda, they go back and look for those addenda. So if they're not there, it's going to be rejected. Okay? Typically, in a semi-normal transaction, you're going to have a third-party financing. You're going to have an appraisal district printout. You're going to have a seller's disclosures notice. If you're closing with Tall City Title, you will have the affiliated business arrangement. Often you'll have the reservation of minerals. That's very common in this area. Sale of other property. That's a contingency form. Right to terminate due to a lender's appraisal. I mean, y'all see kind of like there's a lot of pieces here. Don't just try and upload the contract because that's the only thing required, is what I'm saying. Get all the pieces in here and then submit it to MC. Now, we executed today. What's the next step normally in a listing? What's happening? Oh, gosh. Inspections are option period, typically. Typically, we're going to have an option period now. What's the normal option period right now in Midland? Average days? 10. Yeah, typical option period right now is about 10, sometimes 12. Holidays, we tend to kind of try to up it because nobody's doing anything on the holidays. So a 10-day option period. Great. We're going to work through this. What typically happens at the end of a 10-day option period? What can typically happen?
They like it or they don't like it.
They like it or they don't like it. So what happens if they don't like it?
They lose their option period and they just go on.
Okay. So if they don't like it and they don't want the house, what's the next step for the buyer's agent?
Sign something and send it for terminating.
Yeah. So we have a disclosure. It's a notice of termination. So, hey, we're terminating under the option period. Great. Let's say they like the property, but it needs a couple things fixed. What are you going to get as the listing agent? Amendment. You were so close. You were there. I know you were thinking of that thing. So typically at the end of a 10-day option period, you're either going to get, hey, we're good to go, we're moving forward, or you're going to get an amendment, or you're going to get a termination. Those are your three kind of options. So you're going to get an amendment. Let's say the roof shot. They need to get a new roof. Okay, cool. Well, my guy's going to make an insurance claim, and he's going to get the roof fixed, but we have to get that amendment signed. So they send us that amendment. We upload it into Docusign just like we did before. We send it off for signatures, and then we will add that in to the compliance checklist because there's an amendment option, right? It's too small. There's one in there. Or you can use the price change amendment. Any of the amendments you can use. You'll just put it in there and then upload it and resubmit to the office. Now, here's the cool thing. If everything else you've done so far by working ahead, you've been approved, all they got to do is check one document. And they're going to do that really quick and move on. So typically, compliance turnaround is about 2 to 3 business days. So if you're submitting this stuff ahead of time, everything's going to be done with plenty of time in advance. Okay? So we got an option. This is where we're going to submit our commission form. So typically, in a transaction, there's 2 opportunities where a price is going to change on a property. Anybody know those 2? It's going to be your option period or the appraisal. Those are the 2 times in a transaction where typically the price is going to change. So if we get through one of those, I'm feeling pretty good. So let's go ahead and submit our commission form. And what this is you telling James, our MCA, hey, I've got this. We're outside of option. It's going to close. Things can happen. It's okay. But here's what the commission should be. and he will take that and create that DA. Now, he will not send you that DA until everything in compliance is approved. So because we were working ahead and everything would be approved in compliance, so right now it says submitted, it would all say approved. We could then go to the offers and commission section, and we're going to put in an offer. Now, other thing, you can use this also to compare multiple offers, and it's really nice. So if you get a whole bunch of offers, you can use this section to add a bunch in and then get a nice little PDF to look at. But for this instance, we've got the one offer that we want to accept. So we're going to come in here. We're going to call it accepted offer. And I'm going to just leave the dates as is, as if they were correct. Obviously, you need to put the correct data in. So we were at 350, so they were going to bring 35,000 and finance 315. They did a 1% earnest. We did a 10-day option period at $25 a day, so that's $250 for 10 days. Say we were doing $500 toward the home warranty, which is not uncommon. And let's say we gave them $2,000 in closing cost assistance. Agent analysis, this is where you get to put your thoughts and opinions in. So pros, cons, your opinions. So if you're like, hey, this is a really good deal, maybe this one was conventional over an FHA, so the conventional appraisals are a little bit less stringent. Great. Put your pros, put your thoughts. You can leave it blank. This is for your own information. You're going to hit save. And now we have this offer to look at. What you can do is you will come in and hit accept. And you've accepted that offer. The next section is managing that commission. So we would click manage commission. We're going to put in a contract date. So you'll saw I clicked on the little pencil, and we're going to put a contract date. And it will go ahead and break out the commissions and all the payments. It will show you what is going to be pulled out for royalty and for company dollar. I am capped right now, so it all comes to me. And then you will hit add note. The reason I need you to hit add note is to tell me which title company are you closing with. Is it Tulsa City Title? Is it Texas Title? Is it Permian? Don't really care who you use. Use who you have good relationships with. But we need to know who it is so we can make the DA correct. So let's say we're closing this one with Tulsa City. And then we hit save changes. And you're going to hit submit. This one's going to kick over to James, and he will either accept or reject that. I'm going to put a listing in. Give me a sec. Usually you just select from, we'll just select from listings. Okay. We'll pretend it's one of mine. And you'll hit submit. You'll have the option to donate to KW Cares or KW Kids Cares. If you're not familiar with these two awesome pieces of KW culture, you should check them out. You'll love them. We'll skip that for now, and it's going to submit it. So as soon as that's submitted, it usually will go over to James, and he will accept, approve, and 900% of the time he accepts it, and then you're good to go. The only time he rejects it is if there's like some weird like number. He's had a couple where like we typed in a weird number and it was like a $10 million commission, and he's like, I'd like that for you, and we know that's not going to happen. So you'll submit that. You'll have to get everything approved here. So compliance would have to come through and approve those. Once those are approved, you'll get your DA, and it'll be sent to you via email, and it will be uploaded to command into the close section. So in this closed section, you'll see this distributional agreement. It's going to come in, and you will send that off to title. Okay? Questions? I know it's a lot. And I said this at the beginning, this class is an hour and a half of 45 days. Most of this is happening over the course of 45 days, and we're doing it an hour and a half. So it is a little quick, it is a little stressful, but I promise the more you do it, the easier it gets. Okay. Now, back in the opportunities phase, I did skip over one step. As you're scheduling these, you would move it through its different pieces. So let's say we went up to active. And now we're in prepare listing, publish listing, showing. We went under contract, so we would drag it through to under contract. Again, you would do this as you were going. We kind of did it all at once. And you'll see that we have escrow, which you can change these if you want, if this is not the best way for your business, inspections and appraisals. So in our hypothetical that we were just in, we have gotten outside of option period or outside of inspections, and we are now awaiting the appraisal. Great. Appraisals tend to happen about a week to 2 weeks before you close. They're not always fast, and sometimes they'll be like a day before closing and you're closing a week later. We can't control the appraisers. They kind of get to do whatever they want. It's fun. So you're going to get that appraisal back. If it appraises at value or higher, you'll move forward and you'll go into your clear close. If it does not appraise at value, let's say it comes in lower. So our 350,000 or 330, excuse me, comes in at 320. Now the buyers have two options. Well, the buyers and the sellers have two options. They can ask for the price to be lowered to 320, or they can walk away and get their earnest money back because they have the right to terminate due to the appraisal, which comes from the third-party financing or the addendum for the right to terminate. So your buyers then get to make a decision. What are we going to do? Well, we really want this house, but there's no way we can bring in an additional $30,000 to closing, which is what you would have to do. You would have to pay the gap down. And so they go back to the sellers and they say, hey, we want to get this lowered. Here's the appraisal. Here's where it's at. Sellers have two options. Drop the price or terminate it and go find another buyer. Okay? And so you have decisions. Let's say that they did drop the price and it's good. Awesome. What needs to change?
The buyer's price.
The buyer's price. So you need an amendment. So we need to go get another amendment, fill it out, have it signed. We'll resubmit that to compliance. It'll be quick because it's one document. Also, your price changed. So what else changed? Your commission changed. Okay. So that DA that we already have might be wrong. All you have to do is email klrw360@kw.com, which you should all have just written that down. So we'll go one more time. klrw360@kw.com and say, hey, James, the price went down on mine. Can you update the DA? He'll do it usually within 24 hours and send you a new DA. Okay? It happens. It's going to happen. All right? So you get your new DA. You send that over to title and say, hey, there's a price change. Also, you need to send the price change amendment over to title. Nobody ever told you that. Please send the price change amendment over to title, because if they work up all your closing documents based on one price and then they have to do it again, which usually the lender won't let them, but sometimes they will, it's going to push your closing back at least a day. Okay? So we're clear to close. We go to closing. Everybody signs their closing documents. Everyone has carpal tunnel the next day. Everyone's happy. Great. You've given them their closing gift. You got your paycheck because you had your DA. For those of you that didn't have your DA, you get to wait for us to cut you a check. Sorry, but not really. You should have worked ahead. That being said, let me take my sarcasm out. There are some deals that go so fast, there's no way you're getting a DA. We've had land deals that were cash that closed in 10 days. And so we went and saw a house on a Friday. We had it under contract or not a house. We saw land on a Friday, cash deal, closing in 10 days. There's no way we're getting through compliance, through commissions and everything. It's okay. You'll get paid. It happens. To me, I'm just like, jackpot, I just closed a deal in 10 days. I don't even care if it takes them a couple of days to cut me a check because we just closed a deal in 10 days. It does happen. Typically, though, your standard transactions, work ahead. If you work ahead, you will always get paid at the table. Okay? Cool. So that will close that one out. Please, please, please let your checks and the closing documents come to the office. If they offer for you to pick them up at the title company, that's fine. Your job is to drive straight to the office and let us scan it in. We cannot close it out on the back end of the file for your 1099 until we have proof of you getting paid. And so if we don't have that, we're going to start hunting you down. And if you go deposit the check somewhere and you can't get us an image of it, it's a giant pain in the butt. Let all of your stuff come here. And the title companies run. They have runners that come here actually twice a day usually. So they'll be here in the mornings, they'll be here in the afternoons. It'll come here. If you let it come to the office, we scan all it in and we put all of it into the close section. So, we talked about that close section where the DA is. There's a few more pieces that are necessary. We've got our distribution agreement. We've got our closing documents. We've got our agent commission check. We have to have those. Now, this is a listing. This is not a buyer. There is one more piece that we have to have. You must go into Navica and close out the listing and sell out the listing. And you need to do that immediately. Usually within about 24 to 48 hours is best, because there's a couple of pieces of information you're going to have to get from that buyer's agent. And if you don't get it quickly, they're going to be already focused on the next transaction. Okay? And it's going to make your job harder. Also, all transactions must be closed out in the same month. If you sell it on November 30th, you better close it out on November 30th. Because when we run all of our numbers for the month, your transaction's not going to be there and it's going to skew our data. Okay? So make sure you're closing out everything in Navica as fast as you can. All right? And then you're going to print to PDF. So you'll file print to PDF and then upload that PDF right here. Okay? All right. You started a house. You listed it. You got all the documents. You got it under contract. You renegotiated after option. You got it to appraisal. It didn't appraise. You did a new amendment. You changed the price. You got a new DA because the price changed at appraisal. You got through. You closed it out. You got paid. You gave him a gift, and you come through. You've uploaded everything. It's closed out. You're done with that transaction. So we went from creating a contact all the way to closing it out. So this one right here is done. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take it from clear to closed. We'll drop it into the closed section. Maybe. It's going to ask us that closing date just to confirm it. We said it closed on, well, you can't close in the future, so we'll say it closed today. Cool. We have now closed it out. Why does this matter? Well, it keeps your stats up. It keeps your data clean. So I'm going to jump out for a second here, and I'm going to switch over to my team so you can see what our active data looks like. And when I jump into our opportunities, you can see where our business is at. So I know we've got 26 buyers we're working on and one listing. So first off, this tells me that we're way buyer heavy and where I need to focus my efforts for the next couple of weeks and probably the next couple of months is getting more listings, because all of our listings are moving. We've closed 2 and we've already closed 1 buyer this month. And so all of these are moving. But also, this is super powerful. When I can come in on a Monday morning and say, where's my business at? What do I need to do this week to grow it? And where are my numbers at? Well, I know that my potential income, if I close everything in that pipeline, is $75,000. The probable income is based on the percentage, my closing rate. So the command will learn your closing rate slowly and adjust. And so, great. I know that I've got $45,000 worth of business that I can be working on. When I look at our buyers and I go, we have $75,000 of probable income in our buyers with a potential income of $214,000. I know where my business is at. I know where it's going. Because right now I know it's going buyer heavy. I know in the next 60 days I'm going to be dealing with a whole lot more buyers than listings. And I need to change that. I love listings. So this tells me where we're going. And you know your business. You know your money. You can sit down and be honest with yourself and say, what do I need to do? How does my lead gen need to look today to get my money to where it needs to be tomorrow? So that is why it matters to get into the close. Because if you look at my closed volume, it's there. We've got the closed volume. We've closed out 2. I've got 1 more actually closing today. We'll close out $500,000 in listings and write I believe we'll actually close out. Oh, it's a new month, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Dang it. So also every 30 days the closings fall off. So don't freak out when this goes back to 0. In fact, it should come back to 0 today. I'll have to check on that. That should go back to 0 today, and it'll go back to 0 so you can see your month over month. You can get access to those opportunities at any time. If you go to all opportunities, you can click into them and get it to any of them. But I don't want to see all 25 families that we've helped sitting and closed. That's not realistic because that money's already gone. Right? It's been spent, it's been invested, it's good to go. All right, this is powerful. Keep track of your data and it will help you learn your business and grow it. Contact all the way to close. You're done, you've gotten paid, we have all the documents we need. That's a 45-day process. You are now unemployed and need to find a new employer. Go find a new person to sell. Hopefully you found a couple along the way and you can just keep it going. So questions. A lot just talked about. And we're like 6 minutes ahead. I've never closed on time on this class.
I have a question, but it's.
Ask your question.
For the buyers. So first of all, on the executed date, so I guess the sellers, they signed it on a Friday, but I didn't get it until Sunday. So.
Has nothing to do with the day you get it. It has to do with what day they signed.
So they signed, so because they.
So you're losing option days because they didn't get that contract back to you quick enough. And so yes, your buyers are being partially damaged in that.
Okay, so I can't change that execution.
You may not change an execution date ever.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So your option date, what date does option start? The day after execution. So it is, because if you add 10 days, it comes to the same day. So the day after, so if you execute on the 21st, your option begins on the 22nd. And you have till 5 o'clock of the last day of option.
Well, they got everything and then everything, but the second thing is after they give whenever I upload the fully executed. Do I wait until I get the received one from the?
Thank you. Fantastic question. So the executed and receipted contract. So title has to receipt the contract and receipt option and earnest money. That must be a part of that before you upload it or it will get rejected.
It has to be a part of it, so go ahead and send the one from the title.
Send the one from the title company. Guys, when I drop my contracts off, I always tell the title company, please send me a copy of the fully receipted with the whole contract receipted. And that way we can just upload that one thing. Inside of Docusign, you can also combine files. So a lot of times what title companies will do is they'll just send you the receipted page without the contract. You can combine them and then upload it. I'll show you how. It's not hard. Okay. Yes.
I have a question. Whenever they're filling out like the seller's disclosure on seller's shield and they fill out the flood claim, do then Doesn't Seller Shield make them sign that as well, or do we need to send that out for them to sign?
No, Seller Shield makes them sign it.
Okay, because I just got one and they gave me. And Seller Shield did.
It didn't make them sign it? Okay, that may be specific to the flood. The seller's disclosure is always signed. That's first. I haven't gotten a lot of flood certificates from Seller's Shield, so that would be one I need. Let's look at it and check. But if it's not signed, all you have to do is throw it in Docusign and send it to them to get signed. So if something like that were to happen, and it might be the same thing with the PID form, honestly. It might fill it out, and then we still have to send it and get signatures. Yes?
Now that you have closed this person out, how should you update them in command?
The contact?
Yes.
I would recommend updating the contact. So if we come into our contacts, so let's say we miss Lillisdahl. Oh, hang on, flip back over. Oh, helps if you're on the right screen. So let's update our contact. Miss Lillisdahl. I'm Miss Sarah Lillisdahl. You can come in here. Now, one thing you can notice that opportunities show up on a contact card. So this is really cool, especially if you get like the people that do 4 or 5 transactions. You can keep track of how you manage them. The other thing I would recommend is I usually, and this is something I'm having to retrain myself, is I create a sold 2021 tag, custom tag. The reason I'm doing that is because we figured out we wanted to do like an end of the year thank you card to like all of our people that bought and sold. And the easiest way to do that is filter by a tag. And so all of our buyers are getting a buyer 2021, and then all of our sellers are getting a sold 2021. That's the primary things I would do. Is there something else you had in mind, Ms. Lillisdahl?
Maybe the anniversary date of when you closed out for these lovely people.
See, that's good, except this is a listing. They may not have bought a new home that day. If they did, let's say it was a 1-2 sale, which means that you sold one house and bought a new house the exact same day. And I may have made that statement up. I don't know. I may have made up 1-2 sale, but feel free to use it. We can make it a thing. Inside of the data, we've talked about, if you've had a one-on-one with me, we talk about how the about section is the reasons why to communicate to a client. Everything above it is how to communicate with a client. So come into your home anniversary. So they sold it on December 1st. That's what we said, 2021. And now I have a reason to call Ms. Lillisdahl next year on December 1st, and the next year, and the next year, until she's ready to sell that new house. I have a reason to communicate. How many touches a year do we need to make a client or keep a client? 36. It's good to have reasons to call somebody because that's
I
all
don't have
we
my
want.
candy. I usually throw candy when people get answers.
Yeah. I gotta start stealing your candy to give away. Yes, 36 times. So now you have another reason to contact a client. Thank you. That was a very good point. So we updated home anniversary. We've done that.
Please don't close out deals and then put people in the trash.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. No. Guys, I am getting ready to close. I'm gonna go ahead and kill the live stream because I just can't imagine that I'm actually finishing on time.